everybody, it's Gene Marks, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Biz Ahead Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're watching us on YouTube or on video, or you're just listening to us. We're thrilled that you guys are here. My guest today is Joey Korenman. Joey is the founder at School of Motion and the co-founder of Rolo. Joey is also an investor, an author, a speaker, and advisor. We got a lot of stuff to talk about with Joey today. So first of all, Joey, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Gene. It's an honor to be here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I am glad to have you here. By the way, where are you speaking to us from?
I'm in South Florida, so just outside of Sarasota. It's on the west side of Florida, the Gulf Coast, the pretty coast, we call it.
Know it well. Yeah, Sarasota is a booming place and a beautiful place to live. So good for you. It's a good part of the world. So let's talk a little bit about you and your businesses to get things started. So tell us a little bit about both, School of Motion and also Rolo, which I know is a new venture of yours as well.
Sure. So School of Motion is the primary business, and that business is about 10 years old now. We can get as detailed into the story of it as you like, but at this point, it's an online school that runs a certain type of online course. So, most people are familiar with the concept of taking an online course. You put your credit card number in, and then you pay a subscription fee, and you get a bunch of videos, and you can watch them or you cannot watch them. The company generally doesn't care; they just want your money. So what we do is we actually run courses where there's homework and they're interactive, and you're going through the class at the exact same time as other people. And we've built technology to allow us to sort of scale that and do it that way. So we've been doing classes like that for about 8 years. And at this point, we've now essentially become, I think, the largest online school for motion designers, which is sort of a subset of animation and graphic design. And so
a little bit more on that. Alyssa was trying to explain to me, our producer, she was trying to explain to me what motion design is. And I'm like, it's like this. Explain to me, like, who are your customers? Like, who are your students that are coming to this?
It's funny. Even within motion designers, it's almost impossible to define what motion design is. So I'll do my best. So when I tell people, so I used to, the way I look at it is, if my grandma asked me, "Hey, Joey, what is it that you do again?" I might say, "Oh, I'm an animator," right? Because that's technically what I did in my previous life doing client work. Now, when I say animator, Gene, I'm assuming what you imagine is like a Pixar movie or a Disney movie, right? Characters moving around and storytelling, right? So that's one kind of animation. But there's this other kind that you see it everywhere you look. You just don't really think of it as animation. So that would be, I don't know if you're a sports fan, but if you're watching a football game and there's all these animated graphics appearing, telling you the score, telling you that it's, first down, second down. Someone had to design and animate those, okay? And so that's motion design. That's kind of one way of looking at it. Or if you turn on a commercial and there's a bottle flying around and, you hear a voiceover, and then at the end the logo is revealed and it's this beautiful thing. There's no characters, there's no story, it's an advertisement. Well, someone had to design and animate that too. So that's also motion design.
So this is like graphic design, particularly in a video world where the graphics are moving, at some point. That's part of that. So it's not just like a static thing. Yeah. And that's considered to be like motion design, I guess. Am I describing it correctly?
You are. And actually, up until probably 10 years ago, the term was motion graphics. That's what people would refer to it as. And if you look around now, if you open your phone and you push a button and an app opens and something animates, that again, someone had to figure out, okay, how should it move and actually create that animation? So that's also motion design. So now motion design is expanding into other worlds that aren't just passive sort of ads that you're watching.
Got it. Okay, so that's really good. We're going to get to Rolo soon, I promise you, but still in School of Motion. So the people that are coming to your platform, these are people that want to learn how to build those kinds of graphics. Is that correct?
Exactly. So it's a wide variety of people, as you can imagine. One of our first customers that ever took a class was actually a dentist. Oddly enough, that just thought, oh, this seems really cool. I'd like to learn how to animate, right? And so most of our students now are already professionals. So we're, I have very strong opinions about the value of college and art school in our industry. So we can get into that if you want to.
I have a feeling what they are, but
we're not specifically trying to go after like 18-year-olds and say like, hey, skip college, take our classes instead. Although I have had that conversation. So most of the people that are taking classes are already professionals. And the thing about motion design, which it might be unique to motion design. I kind of don't think it is with the way education works now. The thing about it is you can get your first job as a motion designer simply by like watching YouTube videos that teach you enough about how to do these things. And then you can get your first job and then you feel great because now I'm a professional. But then you look around and you're like, why does my work not look very good? I'm looking at all these brilliant artists and their work's amazing. And I know the same software as them. Why isn't my work good? And so that's where basically it's because you missed art school. You missed the fundamentals, the principles. And so most of our students are people looking for that. They may know the software already, but they don't understand, why is my work not good? And so we teach them like the art of animation, the art of design. These are art forms that sort of layer on top of the technical side.
Give me an example of a class that you offer, and tell me like a typical student that would attend one of those classes.
Sure. So our two most popular classes, I can tell you, one is teaches a software called After Effects. So a lot of our software is made by Adobe. Adobe After Effects is the most widely used animation software on earth. And it's used a lot for exactly the types of things I was describing, creating, titles that appear, advertisements and stuff like this. And so there are lots and lots and lots and lots, like way more video editors out there than there are motion designers. It's just a much bigger field. And video editors, when I started my career, could get away with just being a video editor. You get footage, you edit it. Oh, we need some graphics. Someone else does that. That's not the way it works now. Now you're expected to also know how to do that. And so that's one big cohort, are video editors who are now being asked to also design and animate things. And they've never been taught how, so we can teach you how to do that. The second most popular course is called Animation Bootcamp. And this is exactly what I was describing before. It's artists who are already using After Effects. They know the software part, but they they never learned the art form of animation. And there's a lot to it, obviously. And so that's more of like a fundamental class, the type of thing you would learn if you went to an art school.
Are the classes themselves, are how long in duration are they? Like, if I sign up for one of these courses, is this like a month-long thing? Is it 3 months long thing? Are they live? Are they pre-recorded? How do your students consume the content?
Sure. Okay. So this might be interesting to your audience too. So,
and I'll tell you where I'm going with this, by the way, is that, first of all, I find it interesting myself, but there's a lot of our people in our audience that are online. They are producing content online. It's a form of content that is being produced.
Yeah.
So I definitely I ultimately want to go like how you're doing this, so that we can learn from that for our own content, whether or not we're doing courses or not. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll tell you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you the sort of the secret sauce. So first of all, as far as the length goes, so the classes vary in length. So and we do that on purpose. So like a beginner class where we're teaching you the software that you need to know in order to then do the next class. We tend to make those a little bit shorter. Because we look at it like we want people to have some amount of buy-in. I actually do want to go deeper, right? So like a beginner class for us is 8 weeks. And and then like a more advanced class might be 12 weeks. Okay. So how are we actually deploying this content? So our model is unique. And there's actually another business that I'm in the process of starting to sort of leverage this. So one of the issues that I saw when I started School Motion was that there's a lot of companies out there, there's LinkedIn Learning and there's Skillshare and there's Udemy and there's places like this where there's just this fire hose of content. Some of it's really, really good too. Some of it's not. So you kind of have to dig through it. But there's a problem. The problem is, how much does it cost you as a consumer? It costs, $10 a month, maybe $20 a month. These things tend to always be on sale too. So the perceived value is very low. And the problem with that is that you may say, I want to learn this software. Well, the software is complicated. It's not going to be easy for you to learn it. No matter how good the class is, it's difficult. So if you're paying $20, it's going to be pretty easy for you to just procrastinate and not actually watch the content and not actually do the difficult stuff, which is like watch it and then try to go apply it, actually go make something, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that, I think I may have gotten this from like a Tim Ferriss book or something, but I had this intuition. The thing needs to be expensive, not just so that it makes the business more viable, but also so that the student has some skin in the game and is actually going to do the work. Yeah. Okay. So now
there is a perception, and Ferriss does write about this. I mean, you get what you pay for. And, people are going to be paying more for a BMW. I mean, they know they have an option of buying a Honda Accord, but you're paying more for a BMW because you're supposedly getting a BMW with that much better quality, and there is something to be said for that. So
yeah, well,
so,
I think it's
okay,
deeper than that. I think it's deeper than that, though, Gene. That's for sure true. And
Yeah.
if you look at one of our courses and you compare the quality of what you get versus like another platform, ours I would say is much, much higher.
Right.
But actually, that's not why we make the classes expensive. We make them expensive because if we don't, people will not finish them.
Right.
There has to be enough pain. Otherwise, and it's kind of a counterintuitive thing, but that's one of the reasons we do it that way.
And it's funny that you bring that up as well, because most people that are selling online education or online videos or online content, they're doing it for the clicks. They're thrilled that somebody is like signing up for it. They're paying $20 a month. But in the end, if that person is not walking away with any value, they're not going to refer other people to your platform. You're not going to get good reviews. You won't get return business. So, you're right. By making it that much more expensive and making people have skin in the game, you're forcing them to do what they got to do. So they walk away with a good experience. They can look back and say, I learned, like I got some knowledge from doing this. So
yeah, that is exactly it.
It's a great model. And again, for people that are listening or watching to this, should know that if they're providing content to their customers, whether it's training or just straight out content, charging for it is not a bad thing. And you want to make sure that it's just not all about people clicking, but it's people walking away with good information from the content that you're providing. So it's valuable to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I look at it like, when someone pays that, so our flagship courses are $1,000.
Yeah. Okay.
And so when someone pays $1,000, they're not, in their mind, they might think, okay, what I'm paying for is the content. Yep. In my mind, that's not what they're paying for. What they're actually paying for is the story they get to tell themselves now. I'm the type of person who will spend $1,000 to work on my skills and get better. And that's super motivating. And so we have a completion rate in our beginner classes. And the way we measure this, by the way, just for people listening, is we have homework in our classes. You actually have to turn in work and you get critique and all of that from professional artists. And so you have to do at least 70% of that so that we count it as, okay, you've completed the course. Most students watch all of the content, but we want you to do at least 70% of the exercises that we're assigning. And then if you do that, we give you a credential. Okay. So our percentage of students that do that on average is about 50%. In the beginner classes, it's higher because the assignments are a little bit less strenuous. The average completion rate for a normal online course is in single-digit percentage. Yeah, right. I've heard as low as like 6 or 8%. Right. And I think a lot. Yeah, I think a lot of it is the price. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's paying $1,000. They're like, "Hey, man, I'm ponying up $1,000. I am into this. I'm gonna, take full advantage of this." You mentioned about giving like homework. So, how are your classes delivered? And again, this is there are some content provider. And by the way, I don't want to put you into some kind of pigeonhole like you're a content provider. I get it. It's way more than that.
Sure, yeah.
But for those of us that are like just delivering content, a lot of people just think throwing up a bunch of YouTube videos and making them available is the way to that's how people are going to learn. My company, we sell software products, like CRM products. So a lot of the vendors that we represent, which are great, Salesforce, Zoho, Microsoft, if you want to learn how to use it, you just go and you watch videos, and that's it. It's just that they kind of leave it at that. Yours is a lot more than that. So how do you deliver the content?
Yeah. So I'll tell you how we deliver it, and then I can tell you why. So. For those classes, the way we deliver it is the learning material itself, the videos, and we use different kinds of media. So mostly video lessons is what you'd expect. But I'm also a big fan of including podcasts, just audio only content as part of a class, because my goal is to saturate your brain. I want you like sous vide style. I want your brain literally just swimming in this content for 12 weeks. That's all you're thinking about. So on the days where there's no video lesson, I want you listening to an interview with an artist, or I want you listening to the instructor of the class telling you about their journey. I really want to saturate people. We use PDFs and things like this, right? So we have a learning management system, an LMS is the term people use, and there's many out there, and you can go pay $100 a month for Teachable and put your own class out there. What makes ours different is it's designed around what are typically called cohort-based classes. So in the world of learning management systems, there's sort of instant access courses. There's classes that are done basically live, where, you pay your fee and you get a Zoom call once a week or something like that.
Right.
Ours is in the middle. Ours is hybrid, and that's much harder to do, but it scales, which is why we do it. Okay, so here's what it means. So the material itself is pre-recorded, all of it. Okay. So, and we spend months making these classes and invest heavily into them and make them really good. But then when you sign up for that class, you don't get the class right away. You have to wait. There's a start date. So what you actually are signing up for is, for example, the winter 2024 session of Animation Bootcamp. So you sign up. Every student that's signed up, let's say, so right now we're in the middle of our fall session. And in the Animation Bootcamp class, there's 250 something students in there, right? So they all bought at different times, but they all started on the same day. I believe it was October 9th. And so on that day, our LMS unlocks the first day of content. Everybody gets an email, go check out day one. And then on the next day, another, more content unlocks. So that's called drip feeding. Other LMSs can do that. But it's not very typical because I think there's this perception that when someone buys it, they want the whole thing, give it to them, right? And I look at it the other way. The way that when I first kind of came up with this concept for how our courses will work, my model was actually Disney World. If you go and you get on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and I just picked a ride hopefully everyone's familiar with, you get on this boat and then you start going through a cave and then a pirate comes out and starts talking to you. And then a cannonball flies by. And you go through this experience that feels like this is happening to me right now. But it's not. It's pre-recorded. And they have technology that just plays that same sequence of events over and over and over again. That's how they scale and make money. So I thought if we could do that with a course where it feels like, no, you're in class right now. This person's talking to you. And we do that through like sort of the construction of the course. We also have student groups that every student in your session is in. And then we hire what we call teaching assistants. It's essentially the grad school model where the instructor is teaching you, but when you get a homework assignment, the instructor's not the one actually critiquing it. It's, a grad student essentially. And for us, that's professional artists that we hire and we train. And so every lesson at the end of it, it's like, okay, now it's your turn. Here's your assignment. And we'll give them files and designs and whatever they need to do it. And then our platform allows them to upload their work and we can draw right over it. In animation, that's pretty typical. You draw over the frames, leave notes. That lasts for 12 weeks.
Let me interrupt you if you can, because it's a great model. I'm assuming if people are signing up for this kind of education, they're self-motivated to do it. Like they want to, they're there for a reason. So has there ever been any discussion or need to test those students as they go along? Like, in other words, well, you can't go on to the next day until you prove this, do you know what I mean? To get it, to the next level. Or is that something where you've just put aside and said, no, if our students are here, they're motivated enough?
We've never done that. And mostly it's like a business decision because, we've had conversations about having credentials, right? So we have credentials. If you complete 70% of the class, essentially it says they've completed this class. But we haven't gone further than that to say, okay, we will vouch for this artist. Because to do that, we actually would have to test them. We would have to do that somehow. Right. And doing that at scale is pretty difficult, especially with sort of the business model we have, which is we don't have investors. We're fully bootstrapped. We have to be profitable. And it's like a more competitive landscape now. So we're trying to sort of ride that knife's edge of, okay, listen, anyone who wants to can buy the class. You could literally buy the class and do nothing and nothing happens to you, okay? And we'll take your money. I don't know why you would do that, but we'll take it.
Right.
But we really try to push students, but we can't force people to do anything. That's kind of how we look at it.
Got it. Have you ever, and again, you give credentials, and I don't know if there's any regulation from an industry standpoint for, graphic designers, motion designers. I mean, again, as a CPA, like when I take online classes, there are, and I'm not kidding, they interrupt and test. You have to answer questions as the class is going on, or you don't get CPE credit for the class. I mean, it's that much more stringent, Yeah. And although that sounds like a big pain in the neck, it's still that okay, so you earn that CPE credit. It's a profession, and you want to make sure you'd want your doctor making sure that they're not snoozing during these courses or whatever. So I just don't know if your industry ever evolves to that level. Where walking away with that credential from School of Motion really means that, these guys really put through the ringer to get that credential. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think my gut is that the difference is that the stakes are much, much higher. If you're an accountant or something like that, right? If you get it wrong, your client can get audited, right? You could probably go to jail. So,
Right.
yeah, in the world of design and animation, the stakes are lower. And the other thing too, this is, I think this is actually a key difference because, I've sort of hinted, you could probably guess what my thoughts are on college and the value of it and all that.
Yes, I can.
I still do believe, like my father was a surgeon, right, until he retired. I don't want my surgeon to have watched YouTube videos to learn to be a surgeon, right? The stakes are too high.
Right.
And also, I can't go, I don't think even if you're a really good doctor, you could just go like interview a surgeon and know how good of a doctor they are, right? Like, and you probably don't have time to sit and watch them do 100 surgeries either. You need some shorthand. You need a way to know this person actually knows what they're doing. With design and animation, I can tell you within 10 seconds of looking at someone's work if they know what they're doing or not. So the way that hiring is done is very, very different. You can scale hiring much easier with a visual art like this. So I'm not sure that the value of the test and that is ever going to be as high as it is for, say, a lawyer, something where the stakes are really high.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, first of all, I want to apologize because I know you're an investor and a co-founder of Rolo, and we're just talking about School of Motion here, but the platform fascinates me. And I'm just wondering, on your School of Motion platform, do you feel that that it's changed much over the years? It seems that delivering education just by the typical webinar is such a snooze nowadays, and it's just and I do find more people, education providers, content providers, looking to do something more dynamic. Maybe they're in front of a green screen, and pointing to different things or talking more like you and I are talking, but more like standing or walking around or in a studio or something like that. Have you dallied in that? Is that where some of your courses are going to be now, or where they're going to go? Like the way that you're delivering this information has changed over the years.
Well, so as far as production value goes, so like having green screens and nicer cameras and all that, we always try to kind of up that to a certain level. I think the biggest change I've seen is just that when we started doing this, the idea of a cohort-based course was still pretty new. There was not really any competition. And on top of that, it was much easier to say, but the quality of our videos that you're going to get if you buy this class are really high. And our main competitor, to this day, is YouTube. It's free content, right? And the quality of free content has gotten so good that just to match what like the average YouTuber is able to do, you have to know what you're doing and you have to be able to invest. So I don't think it's enough anymore to just say, well, I know what I'm talking about and the content was produced well. I think there has to be more. And so I think that what you see with a lot of, sort of independent creators that put out their class, they're putting the class out as part of like a brand strategy. Like, this is my brand, and now you get to go deeper into my brand, and I'm going to have a private chat room where I'll be in there sometimes, and people like you are going to be in there. And really, that's what people are buying. The content itself is almost secondary to some of those things. And so we've kind of doubled down on the interactive part and access to our community and all that kind of stuff.
It's kind of like Peloton, like where people sign up for different Peloton instructors because, they're that good. They became their own sort of brands, celebrities, and attracted people obviously to the Peloton platform. All right, I can't let you go without talking a little bit about Rolo.
Sure.
So explain to me about what Rolo does and why you founded it.
Yeah, sure. So as the founder of School of Motion, you can imagine I get emails all the time from animation studio owners and advertising agency people saying, hey, we need an animator, and we need someone who knows this software and has this skill and is good at this kind of thing and lives in this time zone. Do you have anybody?
Yep.
And we have, over, I think at this point, 23,000 alumni from School of Motion courses. And then our audience is far bigger than that. I think we're close to 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. We have a pretty big audience, big reach. So I know, yes, I absolutely have the perfect artist in my network. I have absolutely no idea how to identify them. That was the problem.
Right.
And so what I wanted was some sort of database, essentially, that I could just like have every artist in our audience fill out a quick thing, and now I can easily find people. And I found out that it didn't exist. And so I started talking to, this is actually, it's an interesting problem from a business perspective. You got agencies and studios, and they have staffs, but generally they try to keep their staff as small as possible and hire freelancers to scale up as needed. And everyone has their own unique method of tracking which freelancers they like, and who this freelancer can do this kind of job, but not this kind of job, or this kind of person's good working by themselves, but not in a group. and there was no like solution everyone uses. And so I thought, well, how hard could it be to build one? I looked around at off-the-shelf software, Airtable and stuff like that, and nothing really existed that did what we wanted. So a buddy of mine from the industry, he's actually the design director for one of the biggest studios on earth. They're called Buck, and they're global. And he was trying to sort of solve the same problem for Buck. And I said, well, listen, I've got this idea. I sort of had cobbled together something. I showed it to him. He's like, oh, I have the exact same idea. Why don't we partner on this? So it's essentially a talent database. There's a few differences about it. One is it's very tailored to exactly the problem I had. I need an artist that knows this software that can do this. And I want them 3 time zones away from me, no further. Okay. And that doesn't exist. Also, I need to know they're good.
Yep.
And that's a big that's the big differentiator with Rolo is artists have to apply to be accepted onto the platform. We currently, I think we're close to 1,800 artists in 83 countries. Every single one we've looked at their portfolios, and we can vouch for the fact that their work is good. Like
do
they can do professional work.
Portfolios as well? Like, can you give examples? Say I was looking for an artist like that. Will your database accommodate me? Say it will show me some examples of their work?
Yeah, exactly. So the way it works is, let's say you're looking for a video editor that can also do design and animation to create some packaging for this show, right, on YouTube or something like that. And, it'd be easy if they were on the East Coast of the United States. And, so you can really filter to that extreme level. And here's, 25 artists that perfectly fit the bill. It's designed as a visual search tool. So you immediately see like examples of their work. And if you click on the artist, it shows you more. And then the idea is it's essentially like a business card from the artist. It gives you just the information you need to decide if you want to contact them and dig deeper. And then, after building that, we've built tools to now say, okay, well, I like these 10 artists. I need to know who's available right now to do it. You can click 2 buttons and it checks, right? So it's a really useful sort of talent discovery and management tool for companies.
And where is it now? Like, how mature is the platform?
So we started, I think the very first version of this, we started building it about a year ago, maybe a little bit before that. So it's pretty new. And part of the way that we wanted to build it was, I'm a bootstrap guy. I've never raised money. I like lifestyle businesses and doing things that way. So, let's bootstrap this thing. Let's make it lean. Let's automate the hell out of it. I mean, it's automated to the gills. It requires very little human intervention at this point to run the platform. Yeah. And then once we get it working and we get some product market fit, let's automate the marketing too. So we're at the point where the platform's running, it's fully automated, billing, all of that stuff. Like literally, I don't have to do anything, and it runs. And then what we're working on now is figuring out the best way to market it and the sales. So actually, that's the challenge we're working on now is try to get more people to actually pay for it. We're profitable. We have currently 14 companies using it, and they all really like it. And we have a lot more companies trialing it, but we're finding that the economic environment is tricky, I guess, is a good way to put it, to get people to sign up for a new subscription service.
I've been speaking to Joey Korenman, who is the founder at School of Motion and the co-founder of Rolo. Joey is also an investor, author, speaker, and advisor. We are just scratching the surface of the things that Joey is doing and his 2 businesses that he's running right now. We'll be back for another conversation with Joey, where we're going to discuss how he's running these businesses, some of the mistakes that he's made, things that he has learned, and some advice that he has that he could like to share with all of us in the Small Biz Ahead community. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, Joey, thank you so much for the first part of this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Everybody, you have been watching Small Biz Ahead Podcast. My name is Gene Marks. If you need any advice, tips, or help in running your business, please join us at sba.thehartford.com or smallbizahead.com. On behalf of The Hartford, again, thank you very much for listening or watching, and we will see you again next time. We'll see you back for part 2 of this conversation with Joey. Thanks so much.